crabs have a hard outer shell, which is called an exoskeleton that does not grow. Through a process called molting, crabs must shed their shells. As a blue crab matures, its body size increases. The problem is that its shell is composed of chitin, which is a hard material that does not grow. So the crab sheds its shell and a new one is formed on the larger body. Blue crabs are invertebrates, meaning they lack a spinal column. Instead, the blue crab has a rigid exoskeleton, also called a hard shell. The shell grows in discrete stages interspersed by molting, but the growth of internal tissue is more continuous. Overall, a crab molts in 3 stages. The day before the molting process begins, the crab stops eating and seeks shelter. During this process, the crab is highly vulnerable to predators. When a blue crab is ready to molt, it is known as the prectices stage. It is also called the pre-molting stage or the pillar stage. The hypodermis produces enzymes that secretes a new soft paper-like shell beneath the old one to dissolve the shell components. Much of the existing shell is recycled, causing it to become thin. Inorganic salts are reabsorbed from the shell and stored internally. The next stage is called the molting stage. It is also called the ecdysis stage or the busting stage. When a crab molts, it rapidly absorbs water, which causes its tissues to swell and to split the old shell open across the back between the lateral spines. Fracture planes in the claws split open to allow the claws to be pulled through. Nature is so amazing. Watch as the crab's exoskeleton opens up like a lid. The crab begins the slow, arduous process of backing out of its old shell by pushing and compressing all of its appendages repeatedly. As it is backing out of its old shell, the crab then pulls out its hind legs, then it pulls out its claws. Finally, it comes completely out of the old shell. This process can take up to about 30 minutes, and the old shell is discarded. It removes all its legs, its eye stalks, its antennae, all its mouth parts, and its gills from the old shell, and leaves behind its esophagus, its entire stomach lining, and even the last half-inch of its intestine. The time to complete this phase varies, but it can take about 2 to 3 hours to complete the molt. This blue crab is obviously in stage 2. Let's watch as he goes through the molting process. The third stage is referred to as the post-ecdysis stage, or it is also called the post-molt stage or soft shell stage. The newly molted crab pumps water into its tissues in order to inflate the shell to its new size. The new shell will be roughly about 33% larger than the old shell. The entire molting process takes place in water since a crab will not molt out of water. The new shell is very soft at first, making the crab vulnerable to predators, including other crabs, and hides in rocks. It also hides in aquatic vegetation or buries itself in mud or sand. One of the crab's most dangerous predators includes us humans. Soft-shell crabs are a popular dish all around the world, and one large clean soft-shell crab sells for $15 to $25 each. Within a few hours after molting, the new shell begins to harden. The new shell reaches its full size within 6 hours after molting. After about 12 hours, the shell is slightly stiff and the crab is referred to as a paper shell. After another 12 hours, the shell becomes even harder, yet still pliable, and is referred to as a buckram. Over time, as the crab slowly grows inside its new shell, tissue water is replaced with protein. Once there is no more room left to grow inside its shell, the whole molting process starts over again. Let's learn some more facts as we watch this crab go through its molting process. The 3 stages process of molting takes about 3 to 4 days to complete, resulting in a bigger hard-shell crab. Oh my God! Did you see the crab ripped his leg right off his body? The good news is that if a crab loses a leg, the leg can regenerate over time. The leg breaks off at a special joint and a new limb forms before molting begins. Crabs with missing limbs will develop a gel limb or a limb bud that will regenerate into a smaller version of the original limb after molting. After molting, the new leg is smaller than the others. The crab needs 3 molts to grow a leg back to its normal size. Besides allowing the crab to grow, molting helps to get rid of parasites, barnacles, and other animals growing on the shell. It also helps to get rid of shells damaged by bacteria that degrade the chitin in the exoskeleton. Some barnacle species, called rhizocephalans, can invade crab shells and grow a root-like system throughout the crab's body. This parasitic relationship can be harmful to the crab, as the barnacle can feed on the crab and manipulate its behavior. One species of rhizocephalan barnacles, called the Saculina carcini, is known as the crab hacker barnacle. These barnacles start out as oval-shaped larvae, but instead of developing into shelled barnacles, they penetrate the crab's shell and grow roots throughout its flesh. They can sometimes reach almost every part of the crab's body. Saculina carcini often infects green crabs, which are native to the coasts of Europe and North Africa. The barnacle can affect the crab's consumption rates, which can also impact humans. Watermen use molting signs to determine when a crab is ready to molt. There are certain marks or signs that indicate how soon the crab will molt. Certain signs indicate the stages between the molts of the crab. This is called the instar period. Crabs molt more often when they are small and less often as they grow. Females molt 18 to 20 times, not counting larval molts, in the course of a lifetime. Males are believed to go through the ordeal 21 to 23 times. With both sexes, the time between molts, or the instar, grows progressively longer, ranging from 10 to 15 days for 1-inchers to 30 to 50 days for legal hard crab catch size and beyond. Watermen have come up with some colorful terminology to describe the various stages of crabs molting. The green crab stage is if it is 14 to 50 days prior to molting and has a very hard shell. The white sign peeler stage is 2 weeks prior to molting. The pink sign peeler stage is 1 week prior to molting. The red sign peeler is 2 days prior to molting. The rank peeler is hours prior to molting. Buster is in the process of shedding its old shell. Soft shell stage is immediately after molting. The paper shell is 12 hours after molting. It has a slightly stiff shell. The buck ram is 24 hours after molting, semi-stiff, crinkly, hard, or leathery shell. The whitey is 4 or more days after molting. The bottom of a shell is a lustrous white color. As a crab nears the end of its intermolt period, a smart waterman will see the telltale signs that its molt is near and will place the crab in a special shedding tank until it molts. These signs are the white sign, pink sign, and red sign. The white sign, also known as the snots or greens, is simply the first faint outline of the second exoskeleton or new skin forming underneath the old as molting approaches. It is very hard for laymen to distinguish. It usually appears about 2 weeks prior to molting. The pink sign is indicated by a pink mark that appears on the crab's back fin, which indicates that it will molt in less than a week. This marks the appearance of the new shell underneath its present hard shell. It is said that amateurs can detect the red sign with considerable practice. When the mark appearing on the crab's back fin becomes red, the red hard crab will molt in less than 2 days. Watermen say that a crab is in the rank pillar stage. This is when the shell is hard and usually indicates that the molting process will begin in a matter of hours. A recently molted post-buckram crabs have shells with a grayish cast on their top sides and lustrous white abdomens. Later in the intermolt period, the crab abdomens take on the glazed and slightly stained yellowish look like an aging horse's teeth, and they are often spotted with rust. The female blue crab has one additional sign which appears when an immature female crab, called the Sally, is about to perform her final prepubescent molt and become sexually mature. A mature crab is called a sook. A sook abdomen's color tells what stage of molting is occurring. If the abdomen is red, the red sign indicates that Sally is in the process of molting. When finished, she will be a sook and will have a dark purple-colored abdomen. The reason this occurs is very apparent when you actually see the female busting out of her old shell. The sook's new bell-shaped abdomen is dark in color and is what you're actually seeing through the shell of the red sign Sally. If you will note, her old shell has a V-shaped abdomen, while her new abdomen is U-shaped. The result of each molt is typically a 25 to 40% increase in carapace width. The older a crab grows, the more difficult the molt, to the point that there may be considerable natural mortality in the process. Considering this and the enormous catches by watermen, one expert estimates that a blue crab is lucky to live more than a year in the Chesapeake Bay. A long lifespan for a blue crab is about 3 years, with males tending to outlive females. It is important to note that crabs will mate only when the mature female crab has just molted and is still a soft or buckram crab. As you can see, this waterman has a great system for catching blue crabs.
Denise, it's just got like empty. He'd be too small anyway. I don't know if you can see what I'm talking about, but if you look closely at these sections here, my finger pushes in on every one of them. So that's an indication it's a fresh shell. There's not much meat in it. And when we talk about the sides popping, it's that section there. I don't know if you can see my hand or my finger. Try not let him bite me. Pushing that in. It's a soft, empty crab. He'd be way too small anyway. I'll let these guys go. They're all looking pretty small. Yep, he actually is. Well, he's not a very big crab. Much different to the last crab. He's actually rock hard. None of the body sections are moving at all. And the side of his shell's hard. So he's a keeper. We'll tie him up.
He then checks each crab to see which stage of the molting process it's in.
And he actually touches too.
He turns the crab over to look at his underbelly. As you can see, it's a male crab, which are typically larger than female crabs. He measures it to make sure that the hard crab catch size is legal.
Few crabs. If that one's full, he's a definite keeper. Big crab, he's only got one nipper though, which is a bummer. Oh, I think he might be full, to be honest. Couple of cod there. Let's check these guys out. Here's our one claw. Yep, he's hard. Very hard. Chuck him in the esky. So, probably should measure him first. Easy keeper. This one here might be too. 3 cod. Very white, opaque looking, soft crab. Very flexible in the body sections. And try and get him to move his nipper. Very soft on the side there, he nearly got me. So we'll let those guys go. Let's see if I can get him out. It's pretty hard too, actually. And legal also.
For all the crabs who are not of legal size, he throws them back into the water and allows them to molt 1 or 2 times more before coming back to catch them again.